was about 1983, maybe, that I discovered something that was shocking. I was just minding my own business, and I found a copy of an NIV translation, and I opened up the cover, and I wanted to read it. So I opened the book up in the middle, right in the middle, and I saw Yashayahu, Isaiah, chapter 53. I read it, and I was awestruck. I had never read anything in the scriptures before. I was raised Catholic, and we didn't know much, really, about scripture. And then I wanted to, I was moved to the fact that I wanted to know who this was that I had known all my life, that I wanted to know more. And I opened it up to the preface. And the translation that I had in the NIV, the New International Version, it showed 4 letters to me as the name of the Creator. And I want to expound a little bit on that right now. You need to read your preface, the preface of your scriptures, and find out what they've done to you. Why are we doing this? What is a scripture? Well, it's a written form of either the real Hebrew prophets' writings, which is very rare. Then you've got your translation, which is into your language, which is an interpretation. And often it's not performed by a person that actually knows Yahuwah. They don't obey his commandments, usually, the translators. So they really don't know him, and he doesn't know them. But they still have a profession, and they are teaching you scriptures. If you read the preface of your translation, they will admit something to you, and it's going to cause you to move a great distance in knowledge and understanding. Psalm 102, verse 18, says something very interesting. And this is an English translation, but it still comes through. Quote, "This is written for a generation to come, so that a people to be created praise Yah." Now that's, if you just listen to that maybe a couple of times, and you can read that again and again, and until you get it, that stands alone. It's telling you something. There's going to be a time when people will read something and they'll realize, oh, this was written so that a people yet to be created will praise Yah. That's what you're hearing when you say, hallelujah. That's a Hebrew phrase. It means you praise Yah. That's his shortened form of his name. And the prophet they call Isaiah, his real name is Yashayahu, means deliverance is our Yahuwah. In 52 verse 6, chapter 52 verse 6, quote, "Therefore my people shall know my name in that day, for I am the one who is speaking. See, it is I." And that connects with what I just read in the Psalms. In 1983, I read the letters YHWH. In Latin letters, now the Y and the H and the W are really attempts to write in Latin letters. See, we write in Latin script to transmit English words. And this, underneath it, you see the real Latin for the letter U. It's only one U. But in 1450 or thereabouts, the printing press was made, and the biggest job that they had at that time, it was actually Johannes Gutenberg who invented the single-page movable type press. And the type was made of metal letters. in Latin characters, Latin script. And the Latin script used the letter V shape as the letter U. It came from the Greek upsilon. And anyway, maybe the typesetter was aware that some letters had two U's in them, like which and other words, and he wanted to save time. And he invented a new type letter in metal, and he called it the double U. It was one piece of metal type, but he made it into one letter, but it was two U's shaped like V's. And now people are inheriting this, and they don't know what they're saying usually when they say W. They just instantly use the word, and they don't think what they're saying. But it is actually an invention, and it's fairly recent. It's probably a little bit older than the letter J. The letter J is not a letter in any language until it came into the English. It was a Greek iota, one I, and then they put a little tail on it when they used it at the beginning of a proper noun. And that was less than 500 years ago. So any letters or names that you see with a letter J in them, it's really an I. And that is actually originally trying to transliterate the sound of the Hebrew Yod, the letter Yod. That's why you see the Y here. It's Yod, Hey, Ua, Hey. That word was what YHWH, was what the translation that I was reading was trying to transmit in the preface. And they said, because of tradition, we took that name out and we replaced it with a device, a devious construction to throw you off. That's what a device is. It's something that they devised. And they removed the name of the creator and replaced it with Lord, Lord, an English word in all caps, due to tradition, because they didn't want you to see the name or say the name. And that Lord is the definition of the Hebrew word Baal. What? And it became customary in other languages when Hebrew went into Greek, they adopted another device. They substituted the name Yahuwah with the name Kyrios, which means the same thing, Lord. And when the Greek went into the Latin, they substituted it with Dominus. And Dominus also means Lord. And that's why you see it in all the English translations, because they're following the Anglican Catholic translation called the King James Version. And that was why you see Lord as my shepherd. It doesn't say that in Hebrew. That would be saying that Baal is your shepherd. And 6,823 times they removed his name and put in the name of the Canaanite storm deity, Lord. Okay, now, I read this in the preface of my translation, the NIV. And the translators admitted removing it and replacing it with this device. Now, there's a fact that we've got to understand. In time, things have been turned to wormwood. There was a man named Yusuf bin Matithyahu in the 1st century who wrote volumes of books. And he said, well, let me tell you who they call him. They call him Flavius Josephus, or Josephus. But his real name is Yusuf bin Matithyahu. He has a Hebrew name. And he wrote that he saw the golden headpiece. The golden headpiece was a plate that was made in the wilderness and worn by the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest. And this was after the Exodus. Not long after, but they were in the wilderness. And it was during the reign of Pharaoh Ramses II, probably. Historians suspect that was the Pharaoh that was reigning at that time. And this occurred in the 13th century BCE. Now let's mark that as something in time so we can remember. The 13th century BCE, that's when they came out of Mitzrayim, or Egypt. Anyway, this person in the first century named Yusuf, they called Josephus, he mentioned that they were engraved in this plate, that four-lettered name, were vowels. He said they're 4 vowels. And I'll show you, I think I've got a cue card here. In eberith. They were written in eberith, or Hebrew is what they call it today. And they've got a yod, and it's read from right to left. Yod, hey, hey. And the language is called eberith, and the script is called eberith. And the reason that it's eberith is because, see this 4 letters here, Eber? That's the great-great-grandfather of Abraham. And they called him an eberith, an Eberim, because he was a Eberi. He was a descendant of Eber. That's where the word Hebrew comes from. The man. And we're going to look at other scripts here. But this looks foreign, I know, to most of you. But that's eberith script. And these letters actually have meanings. This first one means hand. And this one means this one means window. Window. That's a hey. And this one means a hook or a peg. And you can see the letter is a pictographic letter. It looks like a peg or a hook. And the window, again, and then you've got the yod. The yod means hand. Hand, window, peg, or hook, and a window. These are nouns because they're objects, they're things. They're not verbs. You'll see that later people started making these windows mean, behold, behold, the nail in the hand. They're making a sentence out of the letters in the word. We're going to talk about what that really is doing, because it doesn't mean that. And this is Aramaic. You see this commonly because, well, there's 3 scripts that are found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This Assyrian script, which came out of later on Babel, was brought back in 539 BCE with the Yahudi. The Yahudim brought this script back with them from Babel, but previously it was the Aramaic script, and it is the script adopted originally by the Assyrians, the enemies of Israel. And now it's called modern Hebrew. And we're going to go into some more incredible information here too a little bit later. But some hieroglyphics are starting to be promoted, which have never been found in this form anywhere in a physical object. And they're making that mean something in today's internet world. So anyway, this headpiece that we were talking about, I'll put it back up on the screen here, written in Hebrew, means set apart or kodesh to Yahuwah. Set apart to Yahuwah. That's what it says. In real Hebrew script. It was written in the 13th century, or manufactured in Hebrew. And Yusuf saw this in the 1st century. He said, I saw the headpiece. and it was written in 4 vowels, the name. Now, if they were written in eberith, and he did mention that, in vowels, which they were not hieroglyphics, and they were certainly not Aramaic. He would know the difference. The Dead Sea Scrolls has Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. But sometimes we don't really know if the scholars that are writing these articles know what they're really saying or seeing. Because, see, a script can be Latin, but it can pronounce a word in Hebrew. Like shalom, you can write it in Latin letters. But you're not looking at Latin script. I mean, you're not looking at Hebrew script if you're, transliterating. So we can transliterate and we can translate. The transliteration is the sound, the exact sound, in another alphabet. Anyway, Yusuf mentioned that they were engraved in eberith, not hieroglyphics or Aramaic. They were written in Hebrew. And they were written in 4 vowels. These 4 vowels in eberith are yod, he, ua, he. Now that you can transliterate them into other languages like Latin, okay? Yod, he, ua. It's not a double U, it's just a U. And he. That's the Latin script. This is the original script. Yod, he, ua, he. You read it backwards. Yod, he, ua, he. Now, in Aramaic or Aramith, it's Yod, he, ua, he. Hebrew teachers are not starting on the foundation of what they're really showing you. But this is important to understand what you're calling something. I want to show you a book real quick. Thank you for your patience. This is the word for the language and the script. And it's a nice study volume, and it's called eberith. And this, of course, are the Paleo Hebrew letters, and it explains all the letters, and they're written very clearly, and there's little quizzes and exercises, so you can identify these. They're not Aramaic, and they're not hieroglyphics, and they're not Latin script. But this is for an English reader to learn the Hebrew alphabet. And this book, too, is a Hebrew word discovery series. They're actually bringing words to you. There's 50 vocabulary words in Paleo grammar, and this is book 2. I don't have these books, but I obviously I do. They're right here in my hand, but I don't sell these. But they're by Margaret St. Peter, and you have to go to her webpage or her Amazon authors page, Margaret St. Peter, and look for eberith. In fact, just Google the word eberith, and you're going to find her. These are remarkable, They're the most honest way to study real Hebrew. You're not studying Aramaic, are you? Yeah, that's what you're looking at in most cases. Anyway, the Yod, He, Ua, He are read from right to left, because Hebrew is read from right to left. It's the opposite of what we normally do. Now, here's the important thing I want to bring out here. The root of the word Yahuwah, Yod, He, Ua, He, the root of the word is based on another word, Hayah. That's only 3 letters. It's He, Yod, He. And it means to exist, or self-existence. And I'll show you that in an illustration, okay? The name Yahuwah itself. What does Yahuwah really mean in the translation, if you were to translate it? Revelation talks about it. If you read Revelation 1, around verse 8, you hear the definition of the word Yahuwah. because the writer of Revelation is turning to look at the person he hears speaking with this huge voice, and he sees Yahusha. And he said, well, I could read it to you, but you can read it for yourself. It's very interesting because he gives him his identity as I was, I am, and I will be Al Shaddai. Does that amaze you? I was, I am, I will be Al Shaddai. That's who Yahusha is. It's amazing. So we look at the roots of the words. The word Yahuwah the root word is drawn from Hayah, 3 letters. And we looked for the roots of the words to understand their meanings. And we must always do so in context to find out what that word means, even though it might be the same spelling. It could mean another word, and it sound the same too. But it could mean something else. Hebrew could mean 2 or 3 things sometimes. Now, Yahuwah wrote his 10 Commandments in the eberith script. The eberith script. Yeah, I'll show you some of those letters. The eberith script, I've been showing you the way his name looks all by itself, but these are the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And people don't know what they are. Our letter A is actually drawn directly from the letter Aleph. Now, this is the script. The eberith script was the script that Yusuf, in the 1st century, said he saw. He described it as Hebrew. Yahuwah wrote his 10 Commandments in the eberith script. This is the script that Yusuf describes seeing on the golden headpiece of the high priest. And it was made after the exodus from Mitzrayim, or Egypt, during the 13th century BCE. Now, Hebrew teachers used the Aramaic script, the language, the script originally it was adopted by Babel, but before that, the Aramaic script, or Aramith, was the Assyrian script. The Assyrians. And then it was adopted by the Babylonians, and then it subsequently came back to Jerusalem in 539 BCE with the returning Yahudim to rebuild the temple. Koresh, who they call Cyrus, was the one who issued the edict to rebuild the temple in 539. You can look that up. They call him Cyrus. That's a Latinization of the word Koresh. The Aramaic alphabet was developed sometime during the late 10th or 9th century BC and replaced the Assyrian cuneiform as the main writing system of the Assyrian Empire. In the 8th century BCE, Babel inherited it in the 6th century BCE as its primary thing. This is why Belshazzar couldn't read the handwriting on the wall, because that wasn't the script that he was reading. Yahuwah was writing in Hebrew on the wall. And Yahuwah brought the Aramaic script back with them. The recent hieroglyphs, which we're seeing all over the internet as having some secret meaning. Okay, this is a little arm and a little man, and this is similar to the, in fact, the letter Ua in Hebrew. And this is the other little man. So they think this is the name, and this has never been found written on any physical objects of any kind at all. Now, these letters are hieroglyphs, so they're obviously been used all over. And but people built this based upon a graph, of letters in a book. And they said, wait a minute, I could take these characters and I could make them mean something. Well, be careful and listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? They're being drawn all over the internet, and they're only generated with computer art or little markers like this. They've never been found physically in this order. Since they've never been found at all, they were never known until this modern day when people started using graphics. And they've never been seen on anything, anywhere. The author of a popular Hebrew lexicon book admits this. They have never been found in this form, anywhere. The Egyptian script is mixed into a chart in this book of his, and then the mixed script went viral when explained that the letters of the name spell a sentence when they were read in reverse. Oh, so there's a secret. Behold the nail, behold the hand is this nonsense that they're teaching you. Because they're relating it, honestly, it's a very interesting, convenient thing that it works out that way, but you don't do that, especially to his name. You don't make sentences out of the letters to make this. Behold the nail, behold the hand, if you read it backwards. The hey, the letter hey, does not mean behold. It means window. The uva, okay, I better hold this up so you can see it. The hey doesn't mean hand, it means window. Or it doesn't mean behold, it means window. This doesn't mean nail. The Hebrew word, there's a couple of words for nail. Like your fingernail or a claw is also referred to as a nail, and it's tepar. It's H2953. Tepar. H2953. And that means a hoof or a claw or a fingernail. But another is masmir or masmara, which is H4548, and masmara is 4530, H4530, and it means a peg or a nail. The pictographic letters of eberith, as they are arranged in words, are not intended to be used to spell sentences. The root gives the meaning to the word. And it's as if to spell a hidden message in them. And if you're looking for hidden messages, and you're maligning the letters of words to mean things that they don't say, that's, well, to teach it is divination. You're looking for something, and you're looking deep into it. You know, like Kabbalah or Kabbalah. You're looking for a level of understanding. That's coming out of the Bhagavad Gita, the 4 levels of interpretation. That's not anything Yahusha wants you to do. It's not taught, except in Kabbalah or, Hinduism. Now, to teach this senselessness makes the behavior whispering, the literal poster child of witchcraft. Gematria is another form of divination. That's why it's important to always drink upstream from the herd. Don't drink this dirty teaching that you're hearing everywhere. So that's about all I can really tell you and warn you about today. Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. Listen for the truth, and it's always clean and pure. We'll see you in the next exciting video. Bye.